You're in the house of God this morning. I know it's a school 6 days out of the week, but there's one day where this place gets transformed into a very, very sacred space. So welcome to Mission Church, and I'm fired up. I don't know what you brought this morning, but God has poured into me a whole lot of fire, so you have been forewarned. Ephesians chapter 6, we are in week 3 of Battle Ready. Why would we start the new year with a series like this? Here's why. I love this quote from C.S. Lewis. He says it this way: there is no neutral ground in the universe. Every square inch, every split second is claimed by God and counterclaimed by Satan. The question isn't, is there a spiritual battle? The question is, are you ready? Am I ready? Are we ready as a church to fight? Are we ready as a church to stand our ground? Ephesians chapter 6, starting in verse 10, helps us understand how to do this. Look there in verse 10. Finally, Paul writes, be strong in the Lord and in whose? Say it with me. And in his mighty power. Be strong in the Lord. We've been teaching you guys that statement is written in a very important tense, the passive imperative tense, the present passive imperative form. And so just to remind you of your freshman English class, this is what this means. Imperative meaning that this is not a suggestion. Imperative meaning that this is in fact your job. Some of you have been looking for a job. You just found it, okay? It's to be strong in the Lord. This is your job. Some of you have been needing a little bit clearer job description. Here it is. Be strong in the Lord. But it's also written in the passive tense. What does that mean? Here's what it means. It means that it's not your job to be strong. That's good news. You're like, oh, that kind of sounds good. I kind of like this. Yeah, this is right. Your job is Your job is to be strong, but it also means that it's not going to be our strength that makes us strong. No, that will be the strength of God. It's also, lastly, written in the present tense. What does that mean? This means, this job, to be strong in the Lord, means that there are no off days. All right? There's no spring break. There's no sabbaticals with this job. It is every single day. It is 7 days a week, 365 days out of the year. We are commanded by God to be faithful in our job, which is to be strong in the Lord, a strength that is not ours, it is His. And to do this every single day. This is why we as a church are intense about growing intentionally. There's more growth for you in 2018. This is why we are very passionate about gathering differently. Why? Because I want you to win decisively. That's why. I want you to be here, not occasionally. I want you to be here every single week, unless you're traveling or unless you're really sick. Why? Because I want you to win decisively. I want you to win decisively. Paul continues, verse 11, put on the full armor, not just part of it, all of it, so that you can take your stand against the devil's schemes. For our struggle is not against flesh and blood. It's against the rulers. It's against the authorities, against the powers of this dark world, against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms. Quick reminder, the battle is not against your spouse. And I know she didn't listen this well, right? This past week. She just wasn't listening. Or was it the other way around? I'm not sure, right? The battle is not against your spouse. It is not against your crazy cousin. No, the battle is against Satan himself. Have we been fighting the right enemy? How often are we fighting the wrong enemy? Wasting a whole bunch of energy. He continues, therefore, because of this struggle, because of this fight, put on the full armor of God, so that when the day of evil comes, you may be able to take your ground, take your stand, and to stand your ground. And after you've done everything to stand, he says, then take a break. No, he doesn't say that. He says, after you've done everything to stand, stand firm then. I love this quote from Pastor Craig Rochelle. God calls you to stand. Your enemy wants you to fall. So as God's warrior, there are only two acceptable actions. You're either standing or you're getting back up. It might be my quote of 2018. When I think of someone that took their stand or someone that continued to get back up, I think of Martin Luther King Jr. This is an important weekend, and it's important because we're reminded of what it looks like to stand up for justice and equality. Last night, as I was finishing my sermon at the kitchen table, typing away, Kelly had the computer open, and she was, as we do, having our girls watch and listen to his speech. It matters. It's important. And I just want to challenge us to kind of rethink about this day off that you most likely have tomorrow. What if it was a day on? to really think and to really begin to ask God, God, are there any other ways that you would have me as a follower of yours fight and stand up for justice, for equality? For us to examine our lives and how we are standing up for justice, how we as believers are choosing through God's help to get back up. Paul continues, after you have done everything to stand firm then with the belt, say it with me, with the belt of truth buckled around your waist. We stand firm first with the belt of truth. Why? As Tommy shared last week, truth prepares us for the battle, protects our vulnerability, and provides our assurance. The first thing is the belt of truth. This is really important. There is a progression in how we put on the armor of God. I played high school football. This is a long time ago here for Lake Park High School, home of the Lancers. And I remember being in the locker room, putting on my armor, baby, getting suited up. So all you remember, you used to play like 40 years ago, right? You remember this, right? We would get into our locker room. The first thing we would put on was not the helmet. That wouldn't make any sense at all. And in the same way, there is a progression to the armor of God. Where does it start? It starts with the belt of truth. That's where it begins. How was the putting on of the belt of truth this past week? Were we vigilant in putting on the belt of truth? Once it's on, then we can add to it. We stand firm then with the belt of truth buckled around our waist. Here's the second piece of armor we're going to talk about today. With the breastplate of righteousness in place. So we add to the belt of truth, the breastplate of righteousness. This is really important. With this ancient armor, if the belt wasn't in place first, that breastplate would slip right off. It wouldn't work. This is really important. So we add to the belt of truth the breastplate of righteousness. Now, I would argue this second piece of armor that we're going to talk about today, the breastplate of righteousness, is the most important. They're all really important. I would argue this is the most important because of what it protects. Let me ask you, does the breastplate protect the knee? Yes or no? No, it'd be called a knee plate. Okay, does it protect the toe? Yes or no? You guys are amazing. No, it'd be called a toe plate, right? I mean, just imagine if you lose a toe, I mean, that's not good. I mean, you're not happy about that. Your sand volleyball career is probably over, right? If you lose a hand, I mean, that's a bummer. I mean, for sure, right? I mean, shoveling this winter might be tough. But if you lose your heart, you're finished. Game over. It's done. In fact, some of us have young kids. This is the first time Kelly and I have had young kids, and so whenever they get sick, our reaction is like, well, we got to get them to the emergency room. I know it's a cold, but we got to get them to the ER. We don't know. We're always worried, about our kids. And so there's times where we've taken them to Central DuPage Hospital. How many of you have ever been to Central DuPage, into the emergency room? Okay, you've experienced this. You get there, and everyone else from the county of DuPage is also there in the emergency room. They say, I know you're really sick or your child is sick. It's only an 8-hour wait, and we'll take care of you, right? But if you want to get right in, here's all you do, okay? You can use this. All you do is you go right up to the counter, and you say, I'm having chest pains, and in my family runs really, really terrible heart conditions, okay? Here's what they will do. Immediately, you're getting rushed right through those doors. You can wave at all the other people waiting, right? Why? As the heart goes, everything else follows. Lose your heart, you lose it all. I mean, this is true physically, this is true spiritually. God's word says this, one of my favorite verses, Proverbs 4:23. Above all else, guard your heart, for it is the wellspring of life. And here's what I know about you. Here's what I know about us. We're really good at guarding stuff. We've become professional guarders of things. Think about your home. I mean, some of you are like, dude, you should see my ADT. Dude, this thing's unbelievable. I mean, from my phone, man, I can watch and I can see what's going on. Or, I mean, we guard our homes with everything that we got, all right? Some of you guard your possessions. I mean, you know by the second what that retirement thing is looking like, right? I mean, you are a guard dog on that. Some of you guard that baseball collection, card collection, all right? We guard all kinds of things. We guard our kids, all right? And those aren't like unimportant, but they are secondary. This past week, how have you been guarding above everything else your heart? I mean, are we guilty of above everything else guarding our heart? God's word is so clear. Above everything, we guard the heart, which leads to this question, how? How in the world do we do this? How in the world do we guard our heart? The answer is one word. That word is righteousness. Say it with me. That word is righteousness. This is how. It's righteousness. This is how we guard the heart. Righteousness is to a person what a breastplate is to a warrior. What a breastplate does for you in the midst of battle is what righteousness does for us in the midst of life. Imagine a warrior who chose to not put on their breastplate entering a battle. I mean, they just wouldn't make it. There's no chance they would reign victorious. In the same way, us as followers of Jesus, there is no way we will reign victorious in 2018 entering the battle without this piece of gear in place. Righteousness. Let's define this word. Righteousness. Let's define it. I'll define it kind of in a simple way. It comes from the Greek word diakosune, which is a kind of a fun word to say. Diakosune. You can use that at work tomorrow. And here's what this means. It means right standing with God. Why? Because this word, the ancient connotation of it, is from the legal system. This word was used in the court of law. And so if you were being tried for something that you didn't do, and they declared diakosune, this means that you, by the judge, were declared to be in the right in that situation. So when this word is used in the New Testament here, this is this word that begins to paint this picture of the heavenly court, where God is the ultimate eternal judge, judges our actions, and we are either righteous or unrighteous, in the right or in the wrong before God. But how does this righteousness, really protect us? How does this work Monday through Saturday, other 6 days of the week? How does this actually work? Two ways specifically. Number one, it is a righteousness you put on. It's a righteousness you put on. You put this righteousness on. Now, something you already know is this. What you put on can give you authority. What you wear can give you a whole bunch of credibility. Some of you were in the service before. Any of you guys, men or women, serve our country in the military? One of you. Good job. Thank you. This is really going to help then. 3 of you guys. You guys would know for sure, right? When you were to pass a commanding officer and you were to see on their uniform a whole bunch of stars and bars and all kinds of stuff over here, you stood at attention, right? You were a Marine, right? You're like, oh my, yes, right? I mean, look what he's wearing. I mean, it means this person's got some serious authority, right? I came across this story from 2 crazy Australians. This is one of my favorite stories I've come across because they were wanting to test this idea that what you wear, what you put on gives you some serious authority. Their names are David and Sean, and 2 couple crazy young guys. They decided to go out to their version of Home Depot and buy some high visibility vests. Some of you are in the trades, you know what these are. They're really bright yellow or bright orange vests. And then they bought walkie-talkies. So, motto, this is totally something we would have done before God brought our wives into our life. And they begin to think about, if we have these vests on and these walkie-talkies, we'll get into anything. People will think we're yeah, right? And so they're let's just start at the local theater, movie theater. So they show up, walkie-talkie, high visibility vests, right? And they walk right through the ticket line, right inside. They don't pay for anything. They just go right into the theater and they watch a free movie. There's a guy. He's like, this is working, right? Hilarious. They didn't stop there. They're like, let's take this up a notch. Let's try it out at the zoo. So they just go to the zoo with their vests and walkie-talkies, walk right through, don't pay for anything. But not only do they not pay for anything, they get to the areas you're not supposed to be in, like the areas you can get eaten in. You can look this up online. This is documented. Here they are. It's a little fuzzy, but they're a foot from the giraffe, right? Another picture I saw, they were a foot from the tiger exhibit. I mean, these guys, because of what they were wearing, right, they had this authority to go wherever they wanted to go. And then after the zoo incident, they're like, oh, we've got the ultimate idea. Coldplay is in town. Their favorite band. I bet it'll work there. And so they show up to the Coldplay concert. This is him outside. Look at him there on the left. Minutes after this picture, look where he is at. And some of you right now, for the first time in your life, you're like, God, I hear you speaking to me. Like this is my strategy for seeing Coldplay next time they come to Chicago. It's amazing. I mean, it's hilarious and it's totally illegal. So please don't do this, all right? No, my pastor, he said, no, that you're missing the illustration here. What you put on can give you authority. The breastplate of righteousness, it's armor we put on. It's something we are clothed with. And when the enemy sees this righteous clothing, that on the breastplate, the name is Jesus Christ, not yours, not mine, he has to flee. He's coming with a sword or with arrows and he's charging you. And all of a sudden, because you put on the breastplate of righteousness, he sees that shield that says Jesus Christ forever engraved and he has to go the other direction. Now, he knows that. The problem is you don't. We don't. Man, a lot of times, his theology is a lot better than ours. The breastplate of righteousness. It's something we put on. It guards our heart. It makes us strong. This term, breastplate of righteousness, it appears twice here in Ephesians 6, but the first time is from Isaiah 59. And this is why the enemy flees. Let me give you kind of the backdrop. And let me read this to you. The Lord looked and was displeased that there was no justice. He saw there was no one. He was appalled that there was no one to intervene. So his own arm achieved salvation for him and his own righteousness sustained him. Listen, God put on righteousness as a breastplate. From the west, people will fear the name of the Lord. And from the rising of the sun, they will revere his glory. For he will come like a pent-up flood that the breath of the Lord drives along. The Redeemer will come to Zion, to those in Jacob who repent of their sins. What does that mean? In one statement, let me answer it with the Bible. Here it is from 2 Corinthians 5:21. Here's what that means. It means this: God made him who had no sin to be sin for us, so that in him we might become the righteousness of God. This is the best news you will hear in all of 2018, I promise you. No matter what kind of great news you get, you just heard the best news you could ever come across. It means this righteousness is not a righteousness of our own. That will not get it done. It means we are putting on the breastplate that belongs to God himself. He's given it to you through his mercy. I want you to think about it in this way. Imagine tomorrow morning, 7:30 a.m. And I kind of roll on over there to Lake Street. You guys have seen Lake Street at 7:30 a.m. It's terrible. It's rush hour. People are driving like crazy people, right? Okay? And I want you to imagine me in this outfit, okay? Going out there to try to direct traffic. Pastor boy out there in traffic, right? Trying to be like, hey, you're going too fast, right? What would happen? Like I would be pressed into the pavement, right? I don't care what I do for work, all right? Me and the pavement would become one, okay? Instantly. Now, imagine if in that same moment, my buddy Jim Tricka, he's been a police officer for years. Imagine if in that moment, here comes old Jim, pulls into the parking lot, he's like, John, come here. All right, when a police officer does that, you go, oh yeah, all right, so I run over there. And Jim's like, listen, I'm here to help. And Jim steps out of his car, and what is Jim wearing? He's wearing his blues, his uniform. I mean, it's like freshly pressed, looks amazing. He even got his hat on. He's even got his white gloves. And he says, here's what we're going to do. We're going to trade. You give me that Old Navy outfit that you bought on sale. But Jim, I don't deserve this. I didn't go to the academy. He says, who said this had anything to do with what you have earned or deserved? I love you, man. I want you to put this on. And as I'm arguing with why I don't deserve it, he's already got his hat off. He's already got the vest off. I mean, he is ready. And he's saying, you put this on. And all of a sudden, I give him my outfit and he gives me his. And he says, now get back out there. And now I walk back out there, pulling on the white gloves. You know what I'm talking about. About to direct some traffic up in here, right? And I get out there into Lake Street. I got the uniform on. I got my whistle, and I don't know what the signs are, right? I'm doing this. I'm doing that. I'm probably causing a traffic jam. But here's the deal. The cars are going to pay attention. Why? Because of what I'm wearing. And in the same way, this is the gospel. If you want strength, if you want power for 2018, it's right here. Don't miss this. The cross, the great exchange happened. Jesus says, I'm here not because you've deserved it or earned it. Just put this on. Because the enemy's coming after, and when he does, and he sees my clothing, guess what? He has to flee. Oh, this is good news. We are putting on the breastplate of righteousness. The breastplate that protects our hearts. Because the breastplate we put on has Christ's name permanently engraved on it. As though Jesus has said, your righteousness isn't sufficient to protect you from the attacks of the enemy. Here, wear mine. Wear mine. We put it on, this righteousness. And secondly, we pursue it. We pursue it. When it comes to this righteousness, why does it protect us? Why is it the second of the armor we put on? Right? Because number one, we got to put it on, it protects us. But secondly, we are meant to pursue it. We are meant to run after righteous living. We are meant to chase down holiness. We are meant to run after purity. We are meant to seek righteousness. Proverbs 15, verse 9. The Lord detests the way of the wicked, but he loves those who pursue righteousness. What will guard your heart this year? An all-out, passion-filled pursuit of righteousness. What will guard your life? It is when you, with everything that you have, you are running after right living. You're running after righteousness. You're running after purity. You're chasing it down. You're saying, God, you will find me as a seeker of righteousness. This year, when your eyes come over my life, you will see that I am moving towards, I am pursuing righteousness. God loves it. It moves his heart, and it protects ours. Why? We are shaped by what we seek. Think about it. We are shaped by what we seek. And when we seek righteousness, we are shaped by it. When we seek the things of God, we are shaped by the things of God. Show me someone who is battle ready, and I'll show you someone who is pursuing righteousness. I'll show you someone who is hungering for the right things, things that bring life instead of death. I love how Paul writes it in Colossians 3 from the Amplified Version. Therefore, if you've been raised with Christ to a new life, sharing in his resurrection from the dead, he says, keep seeking. Keep seeking. And there are so many of you, this past year, 2017, it is the year of the greatest amount of spiritual momentum in your life. And this year is a year already where you are experiencing the greatest spiritual opposition in your life. And one of the biggest deceptions Satan puts into our head or around us is to start to mail it in. We pull back. It's too costly. We stop seeking. We got baptized, and I love how we do baptisms around here. We love it. It's one of our favorite things. But if there is something wrong with it, it's this. It's so awesome, and it's so celebratory, you can falsely see it as a false summit. We've reached it. No, you haven't. Colin, you just got baptized. You're not even close to the top. You kidding me? We gotta keep seeking righteousness. We gotta keep running after holiness. And I believe holiness is making a comeback. It is. I'm seeing something all over America. Influential churches where holiness is something that the people of God are beginning to seek again. It's making a comeback. Jesus And his word continues to write this: keep seeking the things that are above, where Christ is seated at the right hand of God. Set your mind and keep focused habitually on the things above, the heavenly things, not on things that are on the earth, which have only temporal value, which you have died to this world, and your new, real life is hidden with Christ in God. When Christ, who is our life, he's our life. If you're looking for life, look to Jesus. When Christ, our life, appears, then you also will appear with him in glory. So put to death and deprive of power the evil longings of your earthly body, with its sensual, self-centered instincts, immorality, impurity, sinful passion, evil desire, and greed, which is a kind of idolatry, because it replaces your devotion to God. Jesus said it this way in Matthew 5. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they shall be filled. I know you're hungry, and I know I'm thirsty, but what or whom are we hungering and thirsting after? He's saying you start running after righteousness, you're going to get filled. It'll begin to protect your life. It'll begin to guard your heart. Ephesians 4 says it this way: you were taught with regard to your former way of life to put off your old self, which is being corrupted by its deceitful desires, to be made new. Oh, I love that. To be made new in the attitude of your minds, and to put on the new self, created to be like God in true righteousness and holiness. Let me ask it this way. What is your pursuit of righteousness plan for 2018? That's a good question. I'm going to get to church probably once a quarter. All right, not going to get it done. I'll see you in 2019. You're going to be struggling with all the same stuff you struggled with last year and the year before that. I don't know, man. I'll pick up my Bible. I'll look at it. Not going to get it done. Everything you struggled with last year, you're going to struggle with this year. You know, this marriage of mine, I don't know. Maybe once a month I'll pray with my wife. All right, your marriage is going to be limping this year just like it was limping last year and the year before. Like, what is your plan to pursue righteousness? And here's the thing. January is the month where you see everyone's plan to pursue what they value the most. All right? 5 a.m., drive by Lifetime Fitness. Guess what you're going to see in January? Probably not February. In January, you will see the parking lot full. And here's what our world does. You know what our world does? We say, fantastic, bravo, way to go in there. Good job on that elliptical. Look at that sweat pouring off of him. Way to go, man. Way to value the right things. Keep at it, Johnny. Right? Now, if someone was to pull past your house at 5 a.m. and the curtains were open, and they see you on your face before God. They can hear the Chris Tomlin worship bumping through the walls. And they can almost hear you interceding for your wife, interceding for your family, interceding for the nation. Man, you know what they're going to say? They're going to say, this guy's lost his mind. What is he doing? He should be at the gym. What's your plan? And I don't want no weak plan either. I don't want this year, listen, until God removes me, the lead pastor of this place. And he has put a holy fire in my heart in the last couple weeks. I know I didn't put it there. And I'll try to hold it together. But God has put in my heart a desire to see new things in your life this year. God has put in my heart a desire for us to pursue righteousness like we never have before. God has put in my heart a desire for us to worship him with everything that we got. What is your plan? I don't want no weak plan. I don't want any kind of half-hearted plan. What if we went all in to pursue righteousness? Can you imagine the ways it would protect our hearts? Can you imagine the ways it would guard us? It's something we pursue. All right? And Dan talked about the growth track. That is a great option. It is a great option. I've yet to meet many people that are like, that was a waste of time. And some of you are like, growth track, that's one night a week, dude. All right. Let me just tell you, that thinking, you look where you're finding revival around the world, you won't find that thinking. Tell me, I got to come to church every week? John, it was 1 degree this morning. All right. My friends in Africa, they walk 10 miles to church. They're not complaining. They're there all the time. God responds when we seek him. He responds when we run after him. What's your plan? It could be growth track. It's an hour a week. Yeah, it's an hour a week. It's an hour a week. It may not be the growth track. It doesn't have to be the growth track. I care, but in some ways, I don't really care. I just want you to be transformed this year. What is your plan? All right, I think I've kind of beat that to death. I think he really wants us to know what the plan is. Yeah, I do. I really do. What's your plan? I want to finish with this. You're going to like this part a lot better. You're like really uncomfortable right now. He's like, gosh, would he just move on? Then tell me your plan and I'll stop. Tell me your plan and I'll move on. No weak plans, all right? So we're good. We're good on that. Okay. Glad we agree. This is good. The movie The Sandlot. You're like, oh, yes, he's moving on. Yes, The Sandlot. How many of you guys have ever seen The Sandlot? Okay, everyone in our church. This is great. I'm like, how many of you are on your face before God at 5 a.m.? No one. How many of you have seen The Sandlot? Yeah, we love The Sandlot. All right, I'm not gonna go there. I'm just gonna keep moving. It's all right. It's good. It's fun. So this movie, The Sandlot, great movie, right? Awesome movie. There's great characters. Smalls. You guys remember Smalls? You're killing me, Smalls. There's also this guy named Squints. You guys remember Squints? And Squints, I mean, he had a passion not for the game of baseball, but his passion was for a girl named Wendy Peppercorn. And Squints knew something that I think all of us know, which is there's no greater proximity ever between that of the reviver and the one that needs to be revived. I mean, there's just no greater proximity. And so Squints was smart. Why? Because Wendy was a lifeguard at the local pool. Oh, yeah. So Squints goes on down to the local pool. He was going to make a bold move. He had a plan that no one saw coming, especially Wendy. And he got up on that diving board. Some of you remember this moment. There's old Squints up on the diving board, right? And he waves at Wendy. Do you remember this? Like getting her attention. And Squints made a bold move. He jumped off that diving board and went into the deep end all the way to the bottom of the pool, but refused to come up until Wendy would come get him. And so Wendy, like any good lifeguard, she dove in after Squints because he'd been down there for a while, and she pulls him up. And there he is. I mean, he's out. She lays him on the pool deck, and she begins to breathe her breath into his failing lungs. And everyone watching was saying, this is the worst day of Squint's life, but oh, wait a minute. In that moment, old Squints opened his eyes, right? Look at that smile. He's saying, this isn't the worst day. Oh, this is the best day. I was made for this. He grabs the back of her head and he lays a huge kiss on her, right? Oh my goodness. Squints was banned for life from the local pool. So good. I finish with that because of this. There is no breath like the breath of God. There is only one breath that can breathe life into our failing lungs in 2018, and it is the breath of God. In Mission Church, this is our year to become more proximate than ever before to the breath of God. For us to make some bold moves. Like I said, nothing weak. I want bold moves. To do things different. To become someone different. Bold moves. To get more proximate than we ever have before to the only breath that can give life, man. It's the breath of God. And some of you, you've been searching your whole life for that breath, and I'm telling you, it is the breath of God, available through the Son of God. Man, I'm not over it. I'm not over it. And God is doing something fresh, and he's doing something new in you and in me and in our church. We will be a church that when the eyes of God range throughout the earth looking to find a church that is passionately seeking the face of God, he's going to find Mission Church this year. Hear me on this. He will find Mission Church this year, and half of you are in, all right? And I'll take half. I think the rest will follow. If you guys will stand to your feet, let me pray. God, you're speaking. You're stirring up new things. You're even reminding us of some old things. God, and what I've been praying for and what our prayer team right now is interceding for is that right now, God, you would stir up a new affection. No matter who is in here, what their past has looked like, that they right now would make a bold move to become more proximate to the breath of God than ever before in their life. God, I'm asking for this breastplate of righteousness to be put on and to be pursued with passion in bold ways. In 2018, there's no telling what you might do and how you might guard and protect us. We worship you and we thank you. And all of God's people agreed and said, amen.